Good evening and welcome to the High Performance Show with your host, Kamir Arajun. Our show showcases ordinary South Africans under 30 living extraordinary lives. Today's special guest is a woman who is completely resilient, a woman who goes after her goals, and she has been able to embody the epitome of lifelong learning. Her calm and humble nature and her willingness to work hard to achieve her goals has resulted in her massive success. Our guest today has also completely reinvented herself, reinvented her skill sets, and this has allowed her to completely change her career prospects. Please join me today in welcoming Tayla van Heerden. Tayla, welcome, and thank you for being a part of our show.
Thank you so much for having me, Kamir. I'm very happy to be here and looking forward to chatting with you.
Yes, this is awesome. I mean, Tayla, when I heard your story, and just so the viewers can understand it, you studied sports science at Stellenbosch University, right? You did your honors there as well, and then you went on to intern in video editing and video analysis, right?
Correct. In rugby, yeah.
In rugby. And then after that, you saw a gap in the market for skills. Certain skills that you then reinvented yourself with. And within a very short period of time, you ended up as the marketing director of Western Province Rugby.
Yeah, so what happened is, it was an interesting journey. I think we can all admit that, COVID-19 has had a huge impact on the world, just from obviously an economical point of view, and just the way that people operate. I mean, working from home, remote working wasn't nearly as big as what it is now. And when COVID lockdown happened, I mean, I was a video and game analyst and intern, so all the coding of rugby, and I loved it. I did it for the Western Province Rugby Academy, and then COVID hit, and lockdown and playing rugby was not high on the priority list when it came to the COVID-19 restrictions, and I was going to be without a job. So still within the company, I said, okay, what can I do? And at this stage, I was a 21-year-old girl who loved social media, and I noticed that maybe our social media page could have a bit of a boomer. Took over the social media, then started doing a bit of design work on things like Canva, quite basic online things. And my boss saw that I was kind of good at it, and she started pushing me more and more towards marketing and more design work, which I have no qualification in. So a lot of YouTube videos and tutorials later, and I started still to this day doing all the social media, the design work, the digital marketing side of our company, and loving it.
And it's absolutely fantastic to hear that, because most people, or if you didn't do that, you would have had a different career trajectory, because if you were stuck in video analysis, then you would have progressed within that field of your skill set, and you would never have had this chance to become a director at such a young age, for one, and in turn having so many opportunities now follow you afterwards. So in terms of that mindset, because that's what I'm fascinated about. A lot of people are presented with opportunities, right? We have, there's opportunities every single day out there for us, but a lot of people don't decide to utilize it. They don't decide to go after their goals, or do some reflection into, the people they want to become. But
and also people struggle to see, I think, the forwardness of an opportunity. They just see where can it be in the future. People are very, I don't know, maybe I'm out of turn saying maybe people are afraid to work hard because they maybe don't know if that opportunity is going to amount to anything. Even before my internship, I had the opportunity to go straight into a full analysis job, which would have paid way more than what my internship at the Western Province Rugby Academy would. But I could see, further opportunity with the Western Province, and, my life would be completely different if I chased almost the money than the growth opportunity, if you know what I'm saying. I was able to kind of see, okay, where can I myself grow the most? And, every opportunity that you get, you have to take, because you don't want to look back and say, well, how different would things have been if I didn't take that opportunity, and if I didn't work hard? And it's one thing to get an opportunity, but you can't just get it and sit back and say, well, I got it now, and now you owe me something. You still have to work hard, and you have to prove yourself. And there's a lot to learn at such a young age. You never stop learning, no matter how old you are, no matter how experienced you are. So you can't just be complacent. You have to want to do better and want to be more, and not, chase the paycheck, but chase what can become of an opportunity.
I knew you were the right person to have on this show. You get it. You speak the language, It's a different mindset, different way of elevated thinking. And you understand it. You're so eloquent in it, and it's beautiful. And,
Thank you.
You mentioned something there that I'd like to tap into even further. You said that people are afraid of these opportunities, relating obviously to the fact that we like our comfort zones, and also that you didn't expect the opportunity at such a young age. So when you were at that point now, that tipping point, you were doing your analysis, and this new, completely different opportunity came that was out of your skill set. How did you handle those emotions? How did you process it? Because you would have been overwhelmed with everything. You'd have been thinking, what, I would have, you could have said, I'm comfortable in my video analysis role. It's easy. Every young person sort of starting off at the bottom, and we're working our way up. Doing marketing, going through the unknowns, a bit difficult. I have no experience. There's no one to learn from and to hold my hand. So why did you still say, I'm going to go that way? And how did you process it?
Sure. Honestly, it was terrifying. It's one thing, and I think you see it so much more often nowadays. I think you go into a university degree expecting, I'm going to get this degree and I'm going to then go and use that degree. And this is what I've been taught and this is what I know. And then to have all of that flipped around, that now you're going to a completely different sphere that you know nothing about, a job, I was overwhelmed is an understatement. You don't know what you're doing. And the problem is that it wasn't like anyone gave me I'm not going to say a chance, but there's never a thing, okay, Taylor, now this is what you're going to do. You're going to go into digital marketing. Here's a week to educate yourself, or a course to do. I had to learn as I went. Yes. It pretty much went from switching to the more marketing side within a week, or not even a week. I actually got 24 hours. My boss called me up on a Friday afternoon. She says, I'm just letting you know, we have a SA Rugby magazine advert. So I don't know if you know the SA Rugby magazine. Yes. SA Rugby Mag. They have an insane magazine and online presence. We have an advert that's going in the magazine. They need it this afternoon. So you need to do design for me for a magazine that's going to get printed all over the country. And up until this date, I'd never done a design in my life, except maybe a collage for a friend's birthday on Instagram or something. So it was incredibly overwhelming. And you have to learn on the go, and you have to try and make something. And I think I honestly did not know what to do. So all I could do is kind of, take a deep breath, Google how to make a very quick rugby magazine advert or a magazine advert. And, you find there's great online platforms like Canva and things like that. And you honestly have two choices. You either sink or you swim. You have to try and make 100. Your best through it and say, I'm going to give this my best shot. It can come out looking good. It can come out looking bad, but I need to try. And it is stressful and it is overwhelming. And I'm someone, I get quite stressed easily. So it was a very difficult few months. I think that kind of transition, I would wake up in the morning very anxious, because I always want to do a good job. I don't want to let people down. And obviously you also feel like not the weight, but you have this opportunity, you don't want to mess it up. And you want to give it your best, but I'm also a perfectionist. So I want things to be perfect, but I don't know how to be perfect in something that I'm still learning. So to allow myself to make mistakes was probably the hardest part for me. And that's what made me kind of overwhelmed, is I knew that I was going to have to make mistakes along the way, but I don't like making mistakes, but it's human, it's nature. And that's how you learn. The best way I learned was making mistakes. And from that, I could see, okay, I tried my best. This is what worked. This is what didn't work. And the next time I was better. And I think it was just kind of that mindset shift for me that, hey, okay, I'm in a new role now. And I need to adapt to it. And how can I adapt without now going and starting a whole new degree? I need to learn on the job. So I have to be fast and I have to be creative in what I do. So YouTube became my best friend, chatting to people who did marketing, going on LinkedIn, speaking to people on LinkedIn who were in marketing roles, Googling, marketing directors and what's expected of them, looking on YouTube, just getting inspiration from other people that have pretty much gone through the same shoes that I have. And also knowing that it's okay to make mistakes. And that's the only way you're going to learn. And no one expects me, coming out with a BSc honors in sports science, coming from analysis in rugby, to be a perfect marketing director. No one expected that of me except myself. So I have such high expectations for myself and the work that I do because I care so much. And I am German and I am hardworking and I want it to be perfect every single time. So to allow myself to say, you know what, this is new, you will get better at it, but you'll get better at it by making a few mistakes along the way and learning. And that's okay as well.
Right.
So that was kind of, it was scary. I still learn something new every single day, and it's 2.5 years later. I still make mistakes, and I think I'm always going to, keep making mistakes and keep learning because it means I'm trying something new and I'm trying to be better and I'm trying to improve. And, some people say, some people are adamant, people have been in the industry for a long time, you can never teach me anything new. I know everything there is to know. I will never stop learning. I will never stop trying to learn something new every day. And if you're not learning something new every day, you've become complacent.
100%. 100%. The way I see it, the world is always evolving, and you've got to, constantly upskill yourself and have different skills and be lean enough to pivot strategically between roles and options and opportunities as they come about. I mean, that's exactly the same outlook I have in life, because by training, even though I'm in the finance field, I also realize that a lot of things they teach you can't, the university system or the schooling system doesn't give you the life skills needed to handle on the job. And especially,
Exactly.
especially skills that are in short supply now is critical thinking, being able to learn and knowing where to find information, because we're living in this age of, information overload from all angles. People have sort of lost that ability to know where to look for something, and how to teach themselves and to upskill themselves on demand for the particular job. And the fact that you've done that, the fact that you took your initiative and you didn't sit back, you took it upon yourself to upskill yourself is phenomenal.
Thank you. Yeah, I think also people are, I say, to upskill yourself, it takes time to sit and hard work to go and try and improve yourself. And some people maybe don't want to work that additional hard, maybe a bit lazy. They want to, sit and relax after a hard, long day, which I think we all do. It's exhausting working all day, and now you just want that downtime. And so tell yourself, in that downtime, I now need to sacrifice and go and upskill myself. And that, I think, is often the deciphering thing, is that sometimes if you want it bad enough, you will put in that sacrifice.
100%. 100%. And I think you understand that more than most people, because I think you've also turned your whole lifestyle around. Could you give us some insight into that journey? Because I believe because I think that happened before this marketing director role, didn't it?
Yeah. So like I said, the last few years, I've pretty much changed a lot of kind of who I am and how I've done things.
Tell us about that, please. Tell us about who you were. So what we want to please share with our viewers, right? It will be very interesting to know, who was Tayla before she reinvented herself? How did you reinvent yourself? And then where is Tayla heading now? I think it'll be very important, because a lot of people feel, and it's a topic it's very much relevant nowadays. People are having mental health issues. They're depressed, low self-esteem, because they look at themselves in the mirror and feel trapped in their circumstances. They feel like their job that they're doing is theirs for the next 40 years. They feel hopeless in the family situation, financially. So please shed light on how you reinvented yourself, so that our viewers can take your wisdom and apply it in their lives.
Definitely. Well, sure. I'll say, I think most people who see me now or know me now have known me from when I was younger. I'm going to say more varsity, grade 11, grade 12 varsity days, very different people. I was very hard work. Look, I've always worked hard my whole life. From high school, I was prefect, I was head of sport. I always worked hard. Very good marks, but I did like to party. I did like to have fun. Going to Stellenbosch, party capital university, still worked hard, but still had my fair share of party, dueling, study balance. And it was probably second year, my partying kind of took over a little bit more, started drinking a lot more, stopped maybe exercising as much, gained a whole bunch of weight. I struggled also a lot with depression, anxiety, also on medication for that. I wouldn't say my marks took a dive or anything, but I definitely lost my focus for a period of time. I went into university, with a mindset. I was going to go do biokinetics as an honors. I was going to become this top bio, and that was my mindset. And just along the way, I think, that kind of desire, especially the typical thing of, you want to be like one of those cool girls, and you see everyone else living their best lives on Instagram and doing all these cool things and having these big popular friendship circles and at every party. And for some reason, my mind was like, I want that now. I kind of lost my individual wants and needs, and I was more kind of fitting in with the crowd. And I think when it came to, unfortunately, you learn the hard way. You put yourself through very bad situations that could have gone one of two ways, ended very badly, but I'm lucky in the fact that it didn't. And it pretty much came to my honors year, probably the end of my honors year. I was still partying quite a bit. I'd gotten into honors. I changed my course. I got in for bio and I got in for high performance. And I decided last minute, let me change and go to high performance. Still throughout my honors year, I was partying a lot, just doing things that if I look at myself now, just was very not in line with my values, aligned with my goals, aligned with what I knew I needed to do to get to a certain point. Once again, still gaining weight, still drinking a lot. And it was only when I actually got a job offer at the end of my honors year to be with the Western Province Rugby Academy as an internship. I got 2 job offers. One was an internship at Western Province and one was a full-time job. And then I ended up going with the Western Province. I actually sat down with my mom and we were just chatting, and she pretty much said, like, what do you want? Like, what is like the end, or not even the end goal, what is your goal with all of this? You now have the honors that you wanted, you have the degree that you wanted, now you have these 2 offers. Do you want money because that job will give you money, or do you want experience? Do you want growth? What do you think is going to benefit you the most in the long run? Make a pros and cons list and we can take it from there. And that's how it led me to the Western Province. And I think it was the biggest shock for me coming from university. Well, if I wanted to go to lectures, I went. If I didn't, I didn't. I could go dueling, and if I missed class next day, it was fine. To the shock now that I had to be at work at 8 a.m. and I was only leaving at 5. And whether, the work day was done or not, I still had responsibility that I needed to get done. And it wasn't just that, if I messed up in university, it was myself that suffered. But if you mess up in a job or you don't do your thing in a job, it's a company that suffers. It's a team that suffers. And it was that mind shift that I kind of had to grow up a little bit. And I was no longer just accountable for myself. And when COVID-19 happened and that lockdown happened and I was no longer able to code, I wasn't able to kind of do what my degree had prompted me to do, it was then time, okay, change is happening. You're being pushed into this marketing director role. And I was obviously very stressed. I was very overwhelmed and I needed something to cope with it. And on top of that, we couldn't leave our houses. So yes. I started running. So I was running in my apartment basement, which is about 100 meters one way. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to... So I literally started running just because I was stressed and I was nervous and I wanted to do a good job. And I was like, how can I relieve the stress? I couldn't go to the gym because the gyms were closed. I couldn't go outside for a walk because we couldn't leave our houses. So I started running in the basement, and I still remember the one day I ran, like I hadn't run much. And I ran 10Ks in the basement. I was so proud. I posted it on our staff, on our work group. And the one coach at the Cheetahs Institute, he did an 11K the next day in his garden, and he posted it on the work group as well. And he said, sorry, Tayla, I don't like to lose to girls. And I didn't take that too well. So yes. I did a 12K the next day. And then the next day he did a 13K. Then I did a 14K. Then he did a 15K. And then to shut him up once and for all, I did a 21K. And that was the first time I'd run 21Ks. And that was like a goal of mine.
Yes, yes.
And I did it in a
In your
100-meter
basement.
basement. Yeah.
Yes.
So, and at that point, that for me was kind of like a change. I was like, okay, like this is something I wanted to do for a really long time. And I thought I'd never be able to do it. And here I did it. And, at the same time, my role was picking up more, and I could see that, I submitted my first magazine article, and it wasn't terrible. It was actually really good. And I got some good feedback from it. And I was starting to do things. I say, well, look, this is what I've done with this advert, or this is what I've done with this campaign. Everyone was really liking it. And I was running a bit more. And so suddenly almost like things started feeling like they were working in every aspect of my life. And then I started running more, and I started losing weight. And then I started feeling better about myself and the way I was looking, and I was doing better in my job, and people were liking the things that I was doing within my work. And people were saying, like, for me, I think people really underestimate the power of positive reinforcement. I think at the end of the day, everyone wants some sort of reassurance that they're on the right track, or they're doing something good, or they're adding some sort of benefit. And for me, I'm in a fantastic company that, really provides me with a lot of positive reinforcement. And they also know when to, assist me and guide me in a better direction. It's not like, I'm being told I'm doing a terrible job. I'm being told, like, we can see you're trying hard, and we appreciate the effort that you've put in. Maybe let's try doing something a little bit different. So I was really given a lot of freedom in my role, but as well as a lot of support and guidance. And that made me feel better just about my actual abilities in the job that I was doing, and gave me a lot of room to learn. And on top of that, now I'm running. So, it's those positive endorphins. And I started running a lot more and a lot more. And I started losing a lot more weight. So I started looking better. So I started feeling better and feeling more comfortable. And that almost made me feel more comfortable in my job. I think just
100%.
feeling better about yourself, just that whole confidence, it almost, the only way I can say that doesn't, like, I don't know how to describe it, but when you start feeling good about yourself and the things that you're doing, you just feel empowered. I don't know how to describe, but you feel empowered in every aspect of your life. You feel empowered in your work. You feel empowered in the way you interact with your friends and people, and empowered in like things like running, simple things. You just feel like this new version of yourself. And I think once I started looking back, and I was like, sure, I see how I am now, and I'm eating clean and healthy, and I'm seeing, when I look after my body, how much better I feel. I went straight, I didn't need antidepressants anymore. I didn't need my anti-anxiety. I haven't been on them now for almost 2.5 years, where I needed them pretty much just to get through the day. I've barely touched a drop of alcohol in 2.5 years. I completely stopped drilling, I stopped drinking, and I thought I needed those things to have fun and do all these things. And I look back at it now, and it's like probably like my lowest version of myself was the times I thought I was living my best life. And you realize you start doing things because maybe it's what other people want you to do, but you look back and say, that wasn't me, and that wasn't what I stand for. And if I kept going down that path, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. You have to also at some point be like, okay, it's one thing to have fun, and it's one thing to almost do things that is hindering your potential. So the second I started doing things that matched my values, my personality, that things that propelled me further, I felt more empowered to go after what I knew I could achieve. And obviously, I can't run 21Ks every single day of my life, but I've now also, found so much happiness and joy in things like running, and that fitness side that has become like part of who I am today. And I look back and I know there's so many things. If I didn't, for instance, start running or do marketing, my life today would be so different. And I'm so happy and so grateful that things have kind of, turned out the way that it has, because I'm literally at my happiest.
Yes. And it's something that it's such a beautiful journey. I had my, my epiphany in 2017, and it was a very similar story to yours. It was in varsity time, and I was there on the Kutzenberg Mountain, and I was, the year before that, I was working 16, 17 hours a day, every single day, the whole year. I pushed past burnout 5 times that year, to such a point where burnout was like nothing. I was under so much pressure and stress that I was able to build a tolerance of it. And now it doesn't really faze me. But I stood there that day in 2017 and I said to myself, why have I always been the hardest worker in the room? Why have I always been so disciplined, so focused, so committed? Why did I give everything 200%, you know? And as the sun set, it was as if I got slapped in the face. Boom. And when I opened my eyes again, I saw my vision, the vision of myself, the man I wanted to become, the man I saw myself at 30, um, and the way I want to have lived my life. And the minute I saw that, I went straight down to my residence room, right? Because my goal chart before that had buy an Audi R8 at like age 27, then have this big house somewhere, and then it wasn't in line with what I really wanted in life, what made my soul and heart come alive. It was sort of superficial. I thought it would have made me happy, but it really would not have done anything. So I tore all those goals down, and then I envisioned my life goals, and I said, what would be quality of life? What would be meaningful? And just like you, I looked back into my values. What are my core values? And for me, it was integrity, consistency, discipline, respect, commitment, and etiquette. It was that, and I said, okay, how can I live my life in line with that, so that my mind, body, and soul is sort of moving in the right direction, in the same direction, and that I'm acting with integrity and in every dealing that I do in business and private life, and so that I can also be a family man and still live a life worth living. And once I started thinking like that, then it sort of, like you said, it changed the way I looked at options. And as part of being an extremely high performer, you always presented with options. You've got options to do, job 1 or 2 or whatever you want to pursue. But being discerning and saying, what is in line with my values and what do I stand for? And as you said again, it's about making the choices and saying no to the things that detract you from your purpose and focusing on the things that bring you true meaning, joy, and actually make your soul come alive. And I, just like you as well, have been on this path, able to say no to a lot of socializing or things that don't line up, or to groups that don't align with my values. And I really like that journey, because it does resonate with me. And I think you understand exactly what I'm saying. And to everyone else who's also had that self-actualization moment, it's like you don't look at life the same way again. The way you view choices.
And I think also at this age, it's not, I'm going to say, as common to have that self-actualization, that epiphany so early on. So, often, friends and stuff like that, you can lose a lot of friends along the way because they don't understand why you don't want to go jawling, or why you don't want to go drink. And you're lame, you're only young once, like you can do this when you're later. And it's difficult to try and explain and actually like put into words that, this is not because I'm young and now I want to go party. It's that I know what I want. I'm lucky. I'm fortunate to have realized this at a young age. So I can already now, I don't waste my years, living a life that's not mine, or it's not going to be. And not everyone understands that. And, it's exhausting. Also always trying to explain yourself. And you get to the point, I don't need to explain myself. This is who I am. This is what I want. And I'm so fortunate to have realized that at a young age. I'm not going to go waste my years, that I can actually be building myself up and getting closer to what it is that I want, where everyone else is going to be on the back foot.
100%. And, that's the reason why people have those midlife crises. That's why a lot of guys at 40 start looking back and saying, okay, what is the life I wanted to have lived? Where am I now? And then they have those meltdowns. And that's why people have all that, because they didn't at a young age figure out who they were and what they wanted. And in my opinion, that's the most important thing anyone should figure out as a human on this planet, is to figure out who you are, what are your values, what do you want, and then stay true to that. And people find out maybe later in life, once they become comfortable with themselves, and then sometimes happens at maybe age 40 or 50. I mean, for me, and as you said as well, we found it at a young age, and I think that's worth more than all the money in the world. It's worth more than anything material, because you've got a direction where you want to go, and the money and comfort and the way of living is a byproduct of that. If the ship doesn't know, if you don't know where you're going, then the
Doesn't
the
matter.
yeah, the destination or the direction, you can go anywhere, but you wouldn't know any better. But if you
Yeah.
know where you want to be, then you can at least chart the best possible path to get you there and live that life of meaning.
Yeah.
You
So
know?
it's been fun. Look, it's been tough. Like I said, I've had, trust me, there's no easy ride. Just waking up one day marketing director, and then losing 10 kgs and now all happy, like getting off all meds. It was a lot of hard work. It was
Yeah.
a lot of very late nights, early mornings, a lot of sacrifice. It's
Yes.
working your butt off for still an intern salary, even though you're doing a full-time job, still working for absolute peanuts until 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, pulling all-nighters, working weekends, working public holidays. It's having to have that belief in yourself that all of this will pay off. And a lot of people don't want to put it, I think I've heard it before, I am the youngest in my company. So it's also like you want to prove yourself, you want to do well. And you hear these things, and it's so true that unfortunately, with the utmost respect, like our generation is people nowadays, they expect, I've come out of university with a degree and the world owes me something. I must get this job and it must be high paying and I must have 8 to 5, not a second after. I must get overtime, I must get medical aid. We've almost been conditioned that now we have degrees, so we should get jobs now, and we're entitled. And the reality is it doesn't work like that, and you still have to prove yourself, and you still have to work hard, and you have to also show people, it's one thing to do a job and you do it. It's another thing to go above and beyond and to prove yourself and to also make yourself. I think for me, the biggest thing I've taken home is that with also COVID and the way the world is changing, is that you unfortunately, you need to be adaptable because times are changing, and what worked maybe before COVID doesn't work now, and you need to be able to adapt to the times that you're in. Because I'm not saying, obviously COVID is with us and it's still going to be with us for a while, but you don't know what's going to happen 20 years from now. Something else could happen, and you need to be able to adapt yourself, but you also need to be able to make yourself indispensable. And if you work hard and you go above and beyond, you put in those extra hours, you will become indispensable. But if you just sit back and be complacent and you want to, not push past what is necessary, you won't become indispensable. So it's that choice you have to make for yourself. Once again, you're going to have to sacrifice. You're going to have to work hard. You're going to have to put in the hard yards until you can get to a point where, you can maybe clock off at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. for a day and know that, I've worked my butt off now for 2.5, 3 years, and I can maybe, end early today, but I know that, I add value to this company because you've put in the hard yards. You showed that I really want this opportunity. I've taken it. I haven't taken it for granted. I've used it and I've given it my all. And you are at this place now where you have started making like your own, not to say your own comfort zone, because you should never be comfortable. You should always be working hard. But you've made yourself, you've earned yourself a place, for instance, in your company or in your job or in your career. That I didn't just walk in and I got this. I had this opportunity and I worked my butt off to achieve X, Y, and Z. And now I can reap the rewards of it.
Fantastic. I mean, that's 100% right. You have to sort of go over and above what's required of you. You have to put in the extra hours, because if you don't, then you're going to be in the same pool and competing with everyone else in life for the opportunities. So I'm a firm believer of, always going that extra mile, because, as the old saying goes, it's never crowded at the top.
There's no traffic jams on the extra mile.
Nothing. Everyone's shying away from that. So if you just go a bit further, then there's so much more opportunity for you, because you've got the work ethic and you've got the conditioning for it. And you've mentioned there, you do a lot of things in your day. So to get some insight, do you sort of have a routine that you follow each day? A certain set of...
Well, I'll tell you, so my routine has changed a little bit. So one part I did miss out. So why I was very stressed last year is, on top of all of this, and I got the new role and everything, I decided, originally when I was a little girl, I always wanted to be a teacher. I always wanted to be a teacher. And then when it came to picking my university degree, I loved sport and I loved the idea of sports science. I want to be a biokineticist. So I always knew I could go back to teaching after my degree because you have something called a PGCE, so your postgrad certificate in education.
Yes.
So when I was doing my internship, I thought, I might not have time this year to do my PGCE. I've just finished, 4 years of grueling university. Let me just have a 1-year break to do my internship and focus on that. And then I'll pick up my PGCE. And then obviously when COVID happened, I moved more into the marketing and I was learning. I decided, what? Now is probably a terrible time, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I was still learning to do my marketing job. And I decided I'm going to do an 18-month PGCE, which entailed the actual studies was online. And then I would have to do 10 weeks in school teaching practicals where in a school and then teaching. So I spoke to my boss and I said, this is what I want to do. I want to learn. I want to grow on top of the marketing. I want to also, get this postgrad. And my boss was amazing. And she said, of course you can do it. The 10 weeks that I'd be in school prep, we'd, make a plan. So I was also studying pretty much full time while working full time. So that was hectic. So my day back then was very different to my day now. I'm grateful that I have my day now.
Yes.
I love my day back then. It was very hectic. But I'd probably wake up at about 5 a.m. last year, and I would go for a run, about a 10K run. I'd come back home. I worked remote, so that was obviously also very nice. I'd maybe do a workout here at home. I have weights and stuff here because it was just quicker than driving to the gym. And then I'd shower, I'd log on for my work day. I'd work until about 6, 7 p.m. at night. I would then log on and do lectures. I had online lectures for my PGCE, and I probably have about an hour lecture. So I'd probably finish my lecture about 8 p.m. and make dinner, and then I would sit and do assignments. Because I still had assignments, I still had exams. So I would work probably for about 10, 11 o'clock at night. And then I would sit on my phone. I'd say I was also in a long distance relationship. So then I'd find time to chat to my boyfriend. We were sitting in Germany. And then I'd go to bed at about 12. And then I was up at 5 again the next morning. Weekends, I would do my long runs. So I'd also be up still quite early, go for about a 20, 21K, come home. And that was difficult for me. I was so exhausted. And all I wanted to do was chill and relax. And then I'd have to sit and do assignments and catch up. I still had work that I had to do. And then, then teaching practice, that was difficult. That was difficult to balance. So now when it came to the teaching practice, I had to be now in school teaching from 7:30 in the morning to 3:30 in the afternoon. But I still had a full-time job because I didn't take leave during that time because I am the only person in the marketing department. So they couldn't be without me I had 2 5-week teaching practice blocks in separate parts of the year. So I'd also once again wake up at about 5 a.m. to try and run at least. I'd get about a 5K run down in my basement. I'd then shower, change, go to school. I'd teach, and I still had to do lesson plans. Every lesson you teach, you have to have like a 20-page document planning what you're doing. I'd go and teach for the school day, multiple lessons. I'd come home quickly at about 3:30. I'd had to try and fit in a full day's work in like 5 hours. Yes. So maybe at about 8 p.m. I'd have dinner. I would then have to start my lesson planning for the next day of school at about 8 p.m. And I maybe finished that at about midnight. And then on top of that, I still had lectures. I still had assignments. I still had my portfolio of evidence I had to do. I still had work that I had to do. So that was chaotic. I didn't sleep a lot. I worked very hard. And long story short, it did all pay off. Finished my qualification end of last year. And a few days ago, it was actually on Thursday, we had our official graduation. I graduated cum laude with 9 distinctions.
Congratulations.
Thank you, got 9 distinctions. So distinction in every module that I did. My dad still said, look, Tayla, you have done it. You have a undergrad, you have an honors. You just need this qualification. I know it's not in your nature to not try and achieve, but just pass. You just need to pass. You have so much going on. You just need to pass. You don't need distinction. So I can't just, try and do something I can't do something averagely. So
I
I was
know.
like, I'm still going to try my best. If I don't get 80s, I'm not going to cry about it. But so it was a shock to me, the final results, and how well I did.
Amazing. Absolutely fantastic.
So that was probably the hardest I've ever worked in my entire life. So my day now is a bit more different. Luckily, I have the studies out of the way. So I now still wake up at 5. I'll still go for my run. I still train. I'll go to the gym and cycle or swim or run. Still very involved in that. And then I work. But now I might shut my computer off at about 5, 6, and then spend some time with my loved ones, spend time with my boyfriend who's back, or go for a sunset walk on the prom, or even now I'm still trying to improve myself, doing online, learning a bit more about data science and Python and coding, and doing some online tutorials and workshops there, just because, I want to keep learning. I want to keep improving myself. And you always, like I say, have to be able to adapt. And also the world is growing a lot more data and data science and artificial intelligence. And it's really fun for me also, how can I learn a new skill and maybe implement it in my job now? If I need to do certain things in my job that I can speed up by coding or Python or artificial intelligence, I'm also going to make my life easier. So I am grateful for how hard that I've worked, because I can reap the rewards of it now. But also still knowing that there's still amounts of things for me to learn, and just making sure I do still keep that balance, because I was also really approaching burnout, and I did burn out a few times and crying upset. You're like, why am I doing this to myself? Honestly, like, you see your friends going out there and going for dinners and living their life, and they can chill and spending their weekends on the beach. I'm here working. And you just have to, you get to that dark place where you're like, why am I doing this? Like, honestly, I just want to stop. I just want to quit. I'm tired. I'm so tired. And then you just have to, then the real part of you is like this, you will never forgive yourself if you quit, because it's not who you are. It's not who you are to not give 100%. So it's that little voice inside of you that, no matter how tired you are, it keeps waking you up at 5 o'clock in the morning. It keeps pushing you until you're done. You don't stop when you're tired. You stop when you're done.
100%.
And that's just how I've always lived.
That's how I live as well. That's how I live as well. Yes.
I don't stop when I'm tired. I stop when I'm done. And
exactly.
Yeah, so it's been tough, and it's been a lot, and I still obviously have such big aspirations for myself, and I know what I can achieve, and I'm just obviously very grateful I'm at this place now where I can look back at all the hardships and tough times and everything, and look back and say I'm so proud of what I've achieved to this point. But that, just because I've done well now, doesn't mean that this is the end point. There's never an end point. You keep going, you keep pushing. So yeah, every day is still a new opportunity for me to improve myself. Now it's data science and looking to equip myself there and learn new things there. And just obviously, working to, I love setting goals for myself and working towards, like now in like a fitness capacity. It's my first marathon that's coming up in October, and it's exciting every day to wake up and have that purpose and have that drive. And yeah, I think people don't understand the power psychologically, from a motivational point of like what kind of pull that has on a person.
Yes. No, you're 100% right. This is magnificent. This is absolutely magnificent, because it's 100% right that once the inner fire is lit, right, motivation doesn't come from outside, it comes from inside. You've got to want it badly within. Once you've got that, then no matter what you put your mind to, you can always break it down into bite-sized chunks. You can daily progress trackers and weekly status reports, and then you can track yourself getting closer and closer to where you need to be. But if it doesn't start from within, then as the journey begins and as a couple of weeks wear on and it gets tough and you start doubting yourself, then people will then stop, because they want to return back to that comfort zone. And when you have your deep purpose, you can silence those voices. Like you said, you get excited chasing your passion and dreams, because it's going to be worth it. Just as is teaching, as your PGCE, your degree now helped you, take yourself to the next level. And now you're going to start with Python and the data science. And it's, you build momentum. And that's the sort of momentum that carries you on forward in life. I always see life as a game, well, not game, but in terms of levels. Each year I try and level up and be a better man than I was the year before, and holistically, not just in my career, but in terms of health, in terms of social, in terms of family, in terms of finance, in terms of, mental well-being and everything else. So
you never want to go backwards. You want to keep moving forward.
exactly, as is human nature. I mean, we always look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, or we always look at, those the psychologists. They always talk about that man's need to want to further themselves. And if you create that conducive environment starting from within, and you have that vision and the purpose, then there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to continue with that for the rest of your life, as is all the high performers out there in the world, the titans of the industry. Like look at Ariana Huffington, look at Elon Musk, or countless other people chasing their goals, doing what's passionate, what makes them come alive. But what I like about your story as well, Taylor, is that you see well-being and you see high performance as being a holistic process. It's not just one
Oh,
dimension.
certainly.
It's the beauty of life comes from being multifaceted and having that roundedness. Because as you said earlier on, the studies were important to you last year, but you still made time for the things that were important: your family, your boyfriend, eating and training, eating and keeping your goals alive. You had a busy day at work as well, but you still found time to slot everything in. And a
Yeah.
lot of the time, I think when people are under that pressure, they try and drop a few things. They say, you know what, I don't have time for this. So then they put some things on the back burner and they don't bring them back into their life or into their daily routine. And the fact that you were able to, going into this whole mission, realize what was important to you and make sure you relentlessly attend to each aspect of your life is phenomenal. That is
Yeah. Oh,
something,
thank you.
it is something that, most people can't comprehend, because it's easy to then just be more self-centered and say, no, I'm taking on too much, rationalize it like that, and then just withdraw back, tone it down a bit. But you said, no, I'm going to push on and I'm going to do it for 18
Yeah.
months.
I really think that, happiness also comes within a balance of like body, mind, and soul. Is that I
Yes.
know, for instance, they all interplay with each other. It's like you can't just have, the strong mind, but you're neglecting the other parts, because that all, it's still bring you down. It's
100%.
like I know when my body is happy, when I'm training, when I'm eating well, when I know that, I'm doing what my body needs to be happy, I can think clear, I can act clear, my soul is happier. Just like when I know I'm really applying myself, I'm learning, my mind is happy, I'm feeding my mind, I also perform better in terms of my running.
Yes.
I run stronger,
Yes.
I feel better, my soul is happier. But like I know, for instance, if I'm unhappy and my soul is happening, that reflects in my body, it reflects in the way I move, it reflects in the way I work. And it's sometimes so difficult to tell yourself, I have a busy day. It's so easy to say, well, I don't feel like waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning to run or whatever because I'm tired and I have so much going on. So, it's fine. And, once in a while, you do also need to listen to your body and do what's best for you. But, they say it takes, it's like it's 2 weeks or 2 weeks to build a habit or something like that.
Yes.
But and then it takes a certain amount of time to make it a lifestyle, and then a long-term kind of way of living. And it's so easy to fall out of things because you're too busy. And like I've also, we've all been there. I've also said, I'm too busy to do this, and some days you are. But if you want it bad enough, you're not too busy, because
Yes.
you make excuses for the things you don't want to do. But if you really want something bad enough, you will make time, because time, at the end of the day, for me, time is very much, it's a man-made construct. For some reason, we all fit into this block of time. If you want something bad enough, you will make sure that during the day you get that done. And if it's not done, you will push later on at night. You wake up early in the morning because if you want it bad enough, you'll make it happen. If you make excuses, you don't want it as bad as I think you do.
Yes, exactly. And that's exactly why I do these ultra marathons, because there's nowhere for for anyone to hide. Ultra marathons, any race over 55 kilometers will break you down to your lowest level. It strips you down, and then you find out who you are in terms of immense adversity. And it's at that point when you have to unite your mind, body, and soul and push yourself forward towards your goal. And that's something I particularly love. And I know you will love it, because once you get to your 42K marathon, you're going to want to go further. I know it's just natural progression. So, we'll have that chat again when you're when you sign up extra. But it's like you said, there's no excuses. If you want something bad enough, you make it happen. And it's a language every single high performer speaks. And you speak it so well. It's music to my ears hearing it, because in my years of working with high performers from all walks of life, right? Everyone has a unique story. Everyone's got a different background. Everyone's got different skills, right? Some are musicians, some are athletes, some are in business. They all come from different
walks of life.
Yes, different walks of life. But one thing that unites all of them is they speak the same language. They're on the same wavelength. There's no mistaking that. They are all on the same wavelength. Everything you said here, every single one of them understands in a deeper level. They've got personal experience with that. And that is just phenomenal. And I honestly hope that one day more people will get these realizations and do that soul searching and figure out who they are, to then get to a point where they're able to make these better decisions and try and live their best life while they can.
Yeah.
While they're alive, they just live their best life. And I think on that point, and in closing, there would be multiple people here who are inspired by your story. And you've given us pearls of wisdom, right, throughout this beautiful conversation. But if you had to summarize the 3 most important life lessons you've learned, what would it be that you could share with us?
Sure. I've been thinking here. I think for me, the biggest thing is that never underestimate the power of hard work. Never, ever underestimate the power of hard work, because when you work hard, when you work past what is necessary, there will be rewards. Maybe not instantaneously, but there will be rewards. So never, ever underestimate the power of hard work. The second one would probably be always overachieve, never underachieve, because no one can ever turn around and say, you could have done more. If you really give your all to something and you set these high standards for yourself, odds are you will meet them, because you never know how much gas you have in the tank until you have to. So yes. I would always rather try and overachieve. Whether I meet it or not is a different story, but I would rather aim higher pretty much than aim lower. Sure. And the third one.
You're on a roll. This is fantastic. I love it. Keep going.
You got me thinking here. Sure. If there's one thing that I would say is that you will never know enough. Never stop learning, because I had a conversation with someone the other day, and they are much older than me, and they've been in the industry very, very long, and they told me straight, there's nothing that I don't know about the department that they're in. I know everything there is to know about this. I know everything there is to know about this, and there's nothing you can teach me. And I just remember, and that's something that stuck with me, and it only happened about 2 weeks ago. And I still thought, sure, I never want to get to that point. I never, ever want to get to the point where I feel like I know everything. A, very egotistical to believe that you know everything. And B, is that like, I don't think anyone knows everything. You could you could have a PhD in your department, because the world around you is changing so much. Every single day something new happens, and every single day you have the opportunity to learn something new, be it something in your department, or the environment you found yourself in, or something, a brand new thing. Like, I know absolutely like nothing about, for instance, Python coding right now, but I'm going to go give it a try, because you never know when those skills are going to give you a new opportunity. So for me, I've learned is that you can never know enough, and you can never stop learning. So you must really push yourself, sacrifice certain things to learn more. So just forever be a student in life. Not a physical student necessarily in university, but forever be a student in life. Never stop being a student. Never stop learning, because you never know what new door that could open.
Right. That was so well said and absolutely beautiful. Tayla, that was absolutely fantastic. And I want to thank you very much for your time and to all our viewers for listening to this show, because I'm sure they just like me have been immensely inspired by your story. And I want to wish you everything of the best on your journey as you continue to push past your comfort zone and strive for your version of personal excellence. And to all our viewers out there, we will post our guest social media details in the comment box below so that you can follow Tayla on her journey. Don't forget to please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel, and we will see you in our next episode. Until then, cheers.